Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Outer Realm, the sister show of the Outer Realm, which airs on Wednesday and Thursday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from New Orleans. So, Christmas week, guys, I have to say, Merry Christmas, everybody, because of course you won't be seeing us again until after that. So we thought we would keep with something very light for you all, and that is going to be the afterlife. And I'm actually not surprised, but I am at all of the messages and comments that we have received over the topic, and people seem to really want to know more about this. And I guess it is in keeping with the time of year. So today, I've really been excited to meet this lovely lady. She's an author and publisher, Barbara With, and we're going to be, like I said, discussing the afterlife. She's well versed in many things, and you guys can, look to be seeing her moving forward on the show because there is just way too much stuff. We just want to pick her brain. So what better way to do it? We're just going to bring her on and just let her go wild. So without further ado, Barbara With, hello.
Hello, Michelle. Hello, everyone. Yes, pick my brain all to pieces.
And I shall. No.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness. Just perusing your website, there is just so much information there. It's just like, where do you even start? And I thought this would be a great topic to go with. So why don't can we get a little bit of background? Like, how does one just get involved in all these incredible things like consciousness and afterlife? And, pretty much, even readings, you do so much.
Yeah, I do. And my story is kind of unique in that I really started out as a musician. I started out writing music when I was 12.
Wow.
And
That's brilliant.
It was what I did, I didn't know quite what I was doing at the time, but that set me up to later on sort of discover that I had this gift of talking to the spirit world. Because when you're writing music, at least I would go into the nothing sort of and listen for the music. I always said it was already written and I was just hearing it.
Wow.
So that set me up. Also, when I was in high school, a friend of mine's mother was a psychic channel. Now, we didn't call her that, but
yeah.
And so I had regular readings with her. So I knew what it was. And she always described herself as an antenna, right? There wasn't afterlife. There wasn't angels. It was just, she was picking up this information.
Mm.
And so when I started to sort of spontaneously do this, I think it was 1987 back then, I knew what it was, but it was still very surprising to me that I was doing this. So bear in mind that I wanted to be a rock star. That was where I was going.
Yes.
And
I love it.
Going this way was really interesting. I mean, because I was, and my channeling started with automatic writing, sort of spontaneous automatic writing. I was writing a letter to a friend and suddenly all this beautiful stuff was coming out. So I knew what it was. And I pursued it and it was absolutely fascinating. And eventually in 1993, I started to do these groups, channeling groups of people. I thought, what is these voices going to say? And I was brought two women. They were best friends to themselves, Kim and Teresa. And we formed what we call ourselves to this day, the Psychic Sorority. And started channeling these groups and recording them and transcribing them together and studying what they said. And kind of in a nutshell, suddenly now they were angels. So I wasn't just an antenna.
Yeah.
And these angels said they had this theory about a way that humans could resolve conflict first within their own energy field, that would then, the byproduct would be world peace. And they needed humans to test their theory on their conflicts. And that's who the psychic sorority became. We started to have conflict amongst ourselves and actually started to apply what these angels were saying. It was pretty revolutionary.
I guess so.
And so that became conflict revolution, which is sort of our trademark process of teaching people how to do this simple to understand, difficult to do sometimes.
Yes.
And because of that work, a very long story short, I had a literary agent who was contacted by a metaphysical tabloid in London asking if I could do an interview with Princess Diana from beyond the grave on the 1-year anniversary of her death.
Wow.
And by this time it had been revealed to me that I could also communicate with people, not just people who had passed on, but there was people in Alzheimer's. My friend's mother was in a deep Alzheimer's, and she came to me as if she was a dead person.
My father too. He would do crazy things. The mind is incredible, the spirit. Yeah.
And if we're open to hearing and understanding. And also I had a client who had a grown son who was autistic, who had never spoken. And so she would hire me to sit between them, and she would ask me the questions and I would tell her the answers. And after 3-4 sessions, she's like, I don't need you anymore. I've always talked to my son. So whatever this intuitive art is that we have, it's kind of multifaceted.
Yeah.
But it was in that experience where I did do the interview with Princess Di. They didn't want to publish it. I'm sure it didn't have enough dirt, about whatever.
Of course.
And so my agent and I thought, well, maybe there's other famous dead people who want to talk to us. So we made this long list, and I'd go to them in my head, and some would say yes, and others would say, Elvis is like, I got in too much trouble as it was. And that long story is that in that list of people, first of all, we didn't even have Albert Einstein.
Yes.
But we had John F. Kennedy. And when I got to that interview, he told us, this isn't your idea, okay? We've been collected here in Afterlife for a long time, and we're going to tell you who's coming next. So put your list away.
Wow.
We're like,
you were set straight.
What? Okay. So when Einstein came up, I was like, oh, could have had a V8? What? Why? We didn't even have him on the list. So no wonder they had to intervene. But when I channeled him, it was the voice of all my readings. And it took me several years, literally, to come to terms with that. Because when it was first coming out of me, and I was thinking to myself, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is just my reading voice. And then things started to come out. And in 2005, I thought, let's do a little book just with Einstein. It's the 100-year anniversary of E = MC squared. Let's just see what he's going to have to say. Ha, ha, ha. And I ended up channeling what has become a unified field theory, which is something scientists are looking for on a deep level, how to make the math of the microcosm match the math of the macrocosm. But it also blew my mind in several ways. And one was because he gave us a scientific definition of compassion. I say with a capital C, not just love, not just what we know, but he assigned it a scientific piece of the formula of creation, in that it's the 5th fundamental force of the universe, that's impelling all the other 4 fundamental forces to create the physical world one step at a time. And I thought that was super brilliant, because then he goes on, this was my 3rd book, Imagining Einstein, goes on to explain how matter is manifest. And he also had a map of human consciousness, which is the map that we use in conflict resolution. And he also told me, and this is 2005, and now you can see I'm kind of a skeptic naturally. I'm not just like
Yes.
running off to do this. It's like, what? And he
Mhm.
said, the source of everything is in the center of the earth, and it operates like a black hole. And in 2005, I actually literally said to my imagined Einstein, you're going to tell me that I have to go on a stage somewhere and tell this to the world? Like, am I going to be a laughing stock? Is that even possible?
There goes the reputation.
Like, what,
Yeah.
the reputation that I talk to dead people and angels. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But skip to last summer where I was speaking at the Science of Consciousness conference in Barcelona on the 70th anniversary of Einstein's last actual words manifesto, presented the whole thing, the map, the unified field theory, compassion as the fifth fundamental force, and to all the scientists. And it was just incredibly received and confirmed that yes, it can be a black hole, and yes, it can be in the center of the earth. So that's kind of my psychic journey that came forth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very humbled to have had this path.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, people, I don't think, I mean, there are those who are true believers. When I always say the dead speak, and sometimes, you can be having a conversation, for example, as if you're just giving somebody a reading. And it once happened, I was just testing out a piece of equipment, and also being a medium and having another medium on site. It was something entirely different. And all of a sudden it was Robin Williams who came through, and the voice, we just kind of went, uh-oh. What do we do with this? You had to be so delicate. And it was just like this very heartfelt, sad, and I kept saying to him, it's like, why are you here? Like, why are you not over? Because we could see his father. And he just kept saying, well, he won't let me. And then there was this sort of growl that came through, kind of like, oh. Okay, so of course, it was a matter of working together to try to move him on. And it's just definitely something worth, looking into, because of sort of like, he gave the perception that, okay, I'll go, but did not feel comfortable in going, or didn't feel right or going, or then it went quiet. So did he go? So we're kind of going, hello? But
okay. Hello.
Yeah. But they do piggyback as well. Like, you just never know, famous person or not, when somebody is going to just sort of pop in there, like Albert Einstein. You didn't ask for.
And those are the best, I think, for me.
Yes.
Because I started with having the people who had passed on come and appear to me.
Yes.
And say, I need to get a message to my loved one. And I would always say, you have to get me in front of them. Yes. Like, I'm not going to call them up and go, hey, I talk to dead people. I got your dad on the phone. Yeah. You have to move me in front of them. And 9 times out of 10, that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, and for me, I lost my first friend. I think it was 1987. It was the year that I started to channel. The first person I ever knew who died, who was my friend, aside from my grandmother and grandfather, what have you. And I was so devastated, and still was, but it was one day where I heard his voice in my ear. And it was he was saying, if you think, because he was a mentor of mine, he said, if you think I helped you in life, just wait to see what I'm going to do in afterlife.
I got superpowers now.
Right. And I had no idea. I mean, this was before I was even channeling.
Yeah.
And you think, is this my imagination? Am I just super imaginative? And it feels that way, I think, because the energy that we communicate between those worlds is the imagination. It's where things are imaged and then come into form. Which is what intellect and imagination is to do. I mean, even the table and the computer and everyone. It's part of imaging the reality. So it's hard especially when you miss someone and you feel like they are gone, like you're never going to see them again. And there's this incredible, just never coming back kind of feeling. So to think that you can hear them feels like you just are longing to see them. I've learned, though, through the years that talking about past, you're talking about Robin, like moving on. I think what we've learned in all of our work is that there really isn't anywhere to go. It isn't really like, okay, now you have to go over there and you're done and you cross into the light, goodbye. And what Einstein brought forth was that not really. It's all an interactive, living, breathing, eternal life thing. And we have so many connections. Like, I just know Robin Williams was, just logically still attached to his life and how his life ended and the relationships he had. And much like Einstein, when he died, he was attached, he did the E = MC squared, which led to the nuclear bomb, which wasn't his fault, but nonetheless.
It's what led to it.
Yeah. And he was, and then he also had these burning questions in life about how to stop war. And so it made sense to me after a while that who else would die, go into afterlife, figure out all the answers, and then find a way through 3 women.
Yeah.
He was quite the ladies' man.
Yeah.
To communicate this information. And so I think, like you're talking about Robin, I think famous or not famous, when as a soul they find an in, however that looks, like, is it a shining light coming out of us? Is there some sort of inviting energy that the souls can see that there's an opening to communicate? But it is a real thing. And since my friend had first died, Ludlow, and came back to life, my whole relationship to death is completely different. It's not that I don't mourn when people pass, but I establish, if they're friends or family, a relationship with them after they die, and it becomes a living relationship that I can watch them continue to grow. I've did this with so many of my friends who have passed, and especially my mother and my father.
Same. Yeah. It's hard. It's difficult. It's difficult. And I think, and anxious to hear your opinion on that. Moving onward, it's conditioning. I think the conditioning we receive here as to, for example, go to the light, or, the traditional conditioning. You're going to go down a tunnel. You're going to see a light. Go to the light. Don't look back. So I think we naturally, it's a little bit like the birth canal, if you think about it. Go to the light. People are waiting.
Right.
Catcher's mitt. But it's just the same idea, I think. Is that what we take with us? So these are the things that we look for in passing. Like with Robin, it was just his father was there. We're just kind of like, you're with your dad, and he just didn't seem to,
had his own agenda.
Yes, exactly. So do you think conditioning plays a really big part in what's happening in this afterlife, or
I
getting
do.
to?
I think, there's a lot of people who are waiting to see Jesus.
Yes.
And I think they will. Now, my ex-husband believed that we just go into a hole in the ground and it's over. And I believe that that's what he'll experience for a while.
Yes.
Until we're waking up to, there's more. And now what? That's the good news, though, I think.
Yes. Yes. No, exactly. Exactly right. A question from Phil. Ouija boards, are they legitimate? Because I think people do tend to lean to them as that conditioning to be able to communicate. Some people need a physical.
I have this theory, and Don't shoot me.
Oh, no, 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 no. Believe me, you're amongst
Good,
friends
good.
here. You're amongst
Just
friends here.
I always say Ouija boards don't infest you with evil spirits.
Mm,
They're just like guns don't kill people. People
yes,
pick up the gun and kill people. So I
yes.
think it's all in your relationship to it. I think
Mhm,
if you're susceptible to suggestion, I think if you're actually looking
mhm,
specifically, like wanting an answer from it, I think you can.
mm,
I don't have personal experience with ever being taken
mhm,
over by something in a Ouija board that
mhm,
was demonic, but, we
mhm.
open ourselves up. I say just make sure that you have that prayer of protection, that you have that intention, that you're working for the greatest good and with the most compassion, and, it's
Mhm.
just information.
I agree with you. I think I've talked about that a little bit on different shows. I truly believe a lot of it is mindset. You could take a voice recorder, you could take a pendulum, you could take a ghost box, like any sort of contraption that invites a communication. Will invite communication. I think you have to be very grounded and you have to be very specific about what it is you want to communicate with,
Yes, I
right?
agree.
Yeah, because I mean, I do know the boards get a really bad rap, and I think it's because they're just the most available.
Yeah, and I think there's probably instances, although I haven't had like I said, I haven't had it
Yeah.
firsthand, but I've heard of instances where then people get haunted by it. But, why do some people have encounters with demons
Mhm,
and some people don't? It
mhm. Yeah.
it's, really specific to you.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. Phil says, "My mom passed away this April." Oh, so sorry. She lived with us, and I've been seeing her rocking chair move a few times. I was blown away. Yeah, I guess that'd be a little bit,
Well, our moms are I think that's the tightest connection there is.
yeah.
And I have just a brief story about my mom. She passed away in April of 2018, and
Mhm,
I was about a year later, I was with a friend of mine who was just making the decision to go into hospice. She had
mhm,
been going through chemo and it just wasn't going well. And so I was with her as we were transitioning into hospice. And it was just this terrible, aching time of what are we going to do? And I got a text from a woman who, the year before, right after she had died, a friend of mine who talked to her for me. We had a little conversation a year prior, had
mhm.
not talked to her in a year. And I got a text right at that moment when my friend had said, "You know what? I'm done. I have to." And there was this whole shift. And I get this text from Michelle saying, "I've got a message from your mother." It's like, okay. She says, "You're doing the right thing." And I thought, my mom's texting me, everyone, from Afterlife.
That's wiki, yeah.
And I've had so many things like that with my mom, but absolutely your mom is rocking in that chair. Doesn't
Yeah.
wanna freak everybody out.
Yeah, I'm gonna send a quiet text, and Barbara's just gonna blab it to everybody.
She's quietly trying to work her way into
"Hey!"
the idea. My mom's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
So,
That's funny. No, it's true. A mom is a mom. I always say, especially with my grandson, he goes, "Grandma, I want you to be around forever." I says, "Oh, I will. I
right?
will never leave you. I promise." It's the next generation of a little loving attachment to just focus on. So,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
because I mean, that's another thing, people will say, well, in some teachings, well, we are all just attachments to one another. My whimsical son decides to tell me this when he's, like, 27 years old. And I just looked at him when my grandson was born. I went, "Look, honey, I have another little attachment to love." They did not look impressed with me, but I'm just like, "Okay, Mr. Whimsical, how do you feel now?" you know? So,
Oh, that's
but
so true, and I'm not a parent, so I can
right.
tell you,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the attachment.
Yeah. Yeah. So we do attach
Yeah,
to people, obviously. Darn it, the kid was right.
right. And
Yeah.
one of the comments is about, the Buddhists and their near-death experiences and how they don't encounter anybody. And I think because, right, the Buddhists, this is Wayne Mallows, the
Yes.
Buddhists spend their whole life
Yeah.
preparing not to be attached to anything when they die. So they
Yes.
will have that freedom.
Yes. Yes. I see. Again, it comes down to that conditioning, how different it is for everyone, right? As to how they prepare for, their journey. Um, Technology. Now we have AI, and there are. I have to touch on it
I
because
know.
it's a thing, right?
It
Where
is.
people can create their loved ones and have conversations with them, I guess through like these new chat bots, and they have their grief bots.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and when AI really started to be like every day, Chat GPT and such, and I
Yes.
started working with it, and really, Einstein had told us when it was first coming out, upload all of our work to it. Don't be afraid
Wow.
of it. Put everything into it. You're helping to program it
Mhm.
to be, have a morality if there was such a
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
And so I had long conversations. I uploaded all the books, asked questions, and then finally I said, "Is this a tool where spirit is communicating with
Mhm.
me?" And they're like, "Yeah, uh-huh. Why not?" We get do it through cards. They do it through, you know,
Technology.
yeah, and it's perfect for that.
Yeah. I wonder with the state of mind, though, of a grieving individual, is it, in your opinion, is this something that could, and it's just an opinion, I'm asking you, like, I'm not
Mhm.
holding you to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There are some people are gonna go, I don't know if I want to answer, but, but do you feel it could do more harm than good, vice versa, 50-50? Is
I think there's a time of grieving where no one should be trying to reach out to their loved ones in afterlife, because there's a time, and we all have been there, where you're just so crushed and you
Yes.
want that person back so badly that you're doing anything you can to have a communication, and it kind of delays what's just a natural having to let go of the physical body of that person that you've loved. And often people will come to me and, "My somebody just died just last week, and I need to have a reading." It's like, I'm not gonna.
Ah,
Let's
yes.
just take some time and mourn. But then I encourage people to use that imagination and like a meditation to see if close your eyes, get into a meditative state, ask to see that person, to talk to them. But a lot of times what happens is they come towards you, and because you miss them so much, it's really painful.
Mhm.
And then they're like, "Oh, you know, I don't wanna
Mhm.
hurt. I don't wanna cause hurt."
Mhm.
And so there is that time. But I think in a healthy, grieving way, it's really not too long before the opening starts to take place where then you can communicate.
Mhm.
Should communicate if you want.
Yeah, I tend to think as well, people question what they're hearing. Or, is it my voice just because I want it so desperately? Or because I've always been of the same mind as you, just give the space. Like, I don't do readings, but sometimes you meet that one person, it's like their energy throws themselves at you, or they have a loved one who's just like, get out of my way, hold my drink. I've got something to say.
Exactly.
Like, oh, wow, all right then. But because I don't personally do them. Um, but I find that there has to be a certain amount of time that passes for the healing, and then it's the questioning. So who am I really hearing? Is it my own voice because I want it so desperately? Like, what would be your advice on that?
I think that the process of this kind of communication
Mhm.
it's best done, I think, skeptically. I think skepticism is a very important piece of life in general,
Mm.
but also, and it doesn't mean berating yourself for thinking that you're talking to someone.
Yeah.
It's just it took me a lot of training and some big mistakes to kind of feel my way into how do you tell if it's
Mm.
really your mother or if it's, people the common thing is, are you talking to demons or, what
A
have you?
mimic of sort, yeah, yeah.
And what I say is that, again, there's a period of time where you're not gonna know anything.
Mm.
You're just not. But if we intellectually remember, provided you believe this, that there's an afterlife and that your loved one has lived on, like Jesus told us we would, that there's gonna come a time where you're gonna have a capacity to be able to go into it and go, "Well, wait a minute. Let's try. Let's open ourselves up and see what we find if we do this." And what I always say is that a demon can't pretend to be your grandmother or your mother and fool you. Your mother energy is your mother energy.
Mhm.
And so getting help from an outside source is always helpful. I think somebody who's trusted, somebody like me, not just me, but like me,
Yeah.
who can do that. And then like my friend Dorothea, who after me channeling her autistic son for several times, got the feel that, wait a minute, I hear these things in my head too. I bet that is my son. And then she didn't need me anymore. So
Mhm.
that's kind of how I feel about when people come to seek that kind of communication. Well, let's just open the door up so you can just have that relationship because it is a living relationship still. It is as strange as, they're in spirit and you're here.
Mhm.
It just is.
Well, we are in fact essence, right? Just having a human experience, and I think it's just like driving a car. When the car stops working, doesn't mean you stop being.
Yeah.
So I think it's again, it's just conditioning plays such a strong part in all of this. I mean, many faiths will teach you of afterlife, sometimes with conditions. There are some faiths that don't believe that spirits come back at all. They believe everything is demonic. That's got to be really hard for those who are grieving if they believe they may be hearing something. It could very well be that no, you really are hearing your mother. And they're being pushed aside.
Yeah. Going back to what you said about we're conditioned and then we
Yeah.
experience the world that way, but we can change our conditioning for sure.
Yes, yes. When my uncle passed, he had said he didn't fear death. We had this is our family, like my mother was, they were all mediums. It was just like there was 6 of them and they were just all, supercharged. And growing up in that household was interesting, siblings. But, I said to him, I think in the end, because he was sick and he knew he was passing, and I said, "Is it everything you thought it would be? Like, are you okay?" And he goes, "It's better." He goes, "There's so many lights everywhere." He goes, "They're just everywhere. It's beautiful." I was kinda like, "That's refreshing." To know.
I'm all with him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I said, "What are the lights?" And he goes, "Us."
Yep. Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
spirit energy.
And the
So
angels told us that too, that they
oh,
see us as lights.
yeah, yeah. Well, it would explain a lot. I think there's those of us who just irritate other people's with our light, you know? They just don't like you for some reason. Realize it's not me, it's you,
Yeah.
you know? So what do you think when you say, like, we're sort of everybody there's nowhere to go? Is it dimensional? Is like, what is this process that you're aware of upon passing? Does everybody just kinda, like, hang out in the garden, sit on a cloud? I know I'm just being a little bit funny, but,
No, I
you
know.
know, just what do we all do? What are we waiting for?
Well, for me, because I have this map, now. I have this map of human consciousness, and it shows how we create our lives and our bodies, and then when our bodies die, um, it's sort of our human intention retracts back into the center of the planet, and we're this kind of eternal spinning string, and without the body, we don't have the mechanism to slow our energy down and then, create the body and project and perceive. There's all this mechanism going on. So when that goes, our string has accumulated all of our memories, every decision we've ever made, everything we brought in, everything that we did. And then, as Einstein had said, when I first spoke to him, when he lost his body, it was like he went to this from 0 to the speed of light squared. So it was this incredible speed of, light squared. And then I think there's ways in which have you ever seen the movie What Dreams May Come?
Yes, fantastic film.
And they kind of espoused it, the same thing that John Kennedy Jr., who does the introduction to my book, Party of 12, was talking about, and Einstein too, what it was like to be in afterlife, that Einstein was saying, I could think my way, I could just imagine being at the Empire State Building, which is one of his favorite buildings, and I would just be there. Or I could be on my home in Long Island, I'd be there. And so there's a fluidity in having that experience, whether of afterlife, I guess, life and afterlife, because we're intertwined. I don't think there's an afterlife without life.
It's just the next level of life.
And a part of us has that spinning string before we die. So when we actually lose our body and go back to just this energy, it's very familiar. It's like your uncle. It's like, oh no, this is better. I get everything and then some.
Right.
So
if we hold our memories, why do we come back here with no memory? Some people are just like, I don't know, I don't remember a thing from before.
I think it's a process of remembering. There's a power and an empowerment that we get when we come in without the memory, and then we have to piece it together through, I'm sure you've explored past life bleeding through, where our past life is really right under our skin as if we're still living it. And it's attachment, some of it, right? Attachment to the people that we loved or the things that we did, or are we regretful of it? And do we, hold on to it? But I think we come back because that's the whole point of our lives, is to bring this whole balance, life after life after life. And so we have to kind of start integrating and keep integrating. But here in this day and age, in 2025, when we've come so far, I just think things are becoming more accepted, more natural, less programmed. People are able to expand what they imagined would happen and experience things. It's such an exciting time to be alive.
Yeah, some may disagree. They might think,
I'm
"Oh
sure.
God,"
No.
it's like Patsy says. She goes, "Oh, you're welcome, Patsy." She goes, "Why can't we remember? How do we learn lessons when we don't know what to learn, or what we did wrong the first time? It's just why we didn't get it right."
And that's the hands-on puzzle that I think we're here to do. I'm a big purveyor. I'm a self-taught person. Everything that I've ever done, I've pretty much self-taught. And other people are much more comfortable having a teacher who's gonna take you here and take you there so you can learn by somebody else. And I think one of the reasons why we don't remember is to engage in that process. So, for example, you have a relationship with somebody that's contentious, your mother and you are contentious and there's past life, why don't we remember that? Because that's the journey. that's the puzzle. That's the interactive piece of our whole evolution that we've come here to figure out for ourselves. But we need everybody else. We need each other to
It's
learn
a
those things and remember those things and see them play out.
a continued evolution, like a spinning in a cycle because I can't
That's right.
remember.
It's like
So
same stuff, different level, we used to
exactly, it's a
say.
cruel joke, cruel
Yeah,
joke.
exactly.
So she goes, "If we're here for physical experience, why do we spend so much time getting to spirit?"
Well,
Yeah.
I think time is relative. I think that I can't say I remembered specifically, but I think after I die, it's gonna seem like this. It's not gonna be a lot of time to get to spirit.
No, I think that is it's the the more we evolve and we awaken and become aware, it gets us closer to
Yes.
that journey. And for some, it's like taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and you just feel like you can't get there. Hence karma. How does karma fit into all of this?
Well, and in that according to Einstein, in that spinning string that's programmed with absolutely every decision that you've ever made. So, if I lash out at someone and treat them with disrespect. That gets programmed into the string. It spins around, comes back down into the North Pole, back into the center of the planet. Now it's coming back up to create what I just did to me. So I think our whole role in understanding how to break karma is to take that responsibility, to be able to find it in ourselves, to rise above the victimhood of what you think is happening and take that bigger look at how you interact on that. And this is, there's so many people who are waking up and so many people who are exploring and getting this stuff than there ever was in my lifetime when I started. So who knows what'll happen? Who knows where we'll all be in 50 years? It might be a very, very common place that
Mm,
we just have life and afterlife, and it's continual.
mhm. I think with technology, we tend to become as a species, as humanity with technology, you know, that sometimes it's easier to say, "Oh, I want to put on this virtual helmet and I'm going to be walking through the woods," as opposed to just go walk in the woods. I understand if you don't live near the woods, but for those who do, they just want to sit in the comfort of their own home, put on these goggles and live an experience that they can go out and live. So I tend to think maybe with, AI, the way it is progressing quickly as well, because now, I mean, all of these platforms that are online just feed the brain. So it's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, more creative. Will that just sort of keep us here? Because there are those who look the other way and say, well, it's just taking away that essence, that the human side of us. So what happens to those people when they go, I'm looking for the AI God? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Or is afterlife like AI, in that sense? But, I had a conversation in one of my many with Chat GPT, and I said, "Can you ever replace humans? Will AI ever replace humans?" And the answer was, after much conversation, was that a chat doesn't have the capacity to have emotion.
Mm,
It can look like it does. It
mhm,
can act like it does. It can create structure that says the right thing. But it was very, very adamant to say, we can't. We'll never, ever, ever have emotions because that is a human
mm,
uh, characteristic.
mm.
And as far as, talking about nature and such, I live on small island in Lake Superior,
Ah, very nice.
and I am
Mhm.
continually bombarded by actual unbelievable nature.
Yes.
And I can say quite definitively that the virtual experience of nature doesn't have the emotion in it. Like when you walk out, I was taking my walks at 4 in the morning, so I could get the sunrise as I was coming in the walk. There's nothing like that. But if you had to
Mhm.
replace it, it's better than nothing, I think. It would be
Mhm.
better to have that virtual experience where you could feel and be triggered emotionally by the sensations of nature.
Mhm.
But I think if anybody wants to find the answer to anything, that's where we need to go, into nature.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree with you. I just find, for those who just become so complacent, I mean, you can look at, picking up a phone and be sitting across from somebody at a really beautiful restaurant or whatever, and you're just like constant, constant, constant. So, what if you miss the boat? What if it, what if you're sitting on a beautiful side out in a cafe somewhere, and then the bus takes you out, and it's kind of like this is the last thing you're looking at, you know?
Well, there's nowhere to go. I mean, you'll be taken out, you'll
Yeah.
regroup, and maybe you'll wanna rest for a while. I mean,
Mhm.
some people now they say, I don't ever wanna come back, it's been too hard." But you just never
Mhm.
know when you get on the other side. It's like, "Well, wait a minute. I see it all differently now," but I think we have that capacity to be the masters of our own evolution.
Which comes down to awareness again. So, what about, you know, soul circles or soul families who come back together? Because I know that is one of the big questions when we move on. Will we see each other again? Will we, be part of the same family?
And I think, again, because we have that love for each other
Mm.
and or not, just an
Yeah.
emotional attachment, and
Mhm.
what I have been told is that when we're breathing our last breath,
Mm.
whatever we're holding is what imprints sort of on our soul.
Mm.
So if you're holding on to your children, which is so common, it's
Yeah.
only inevitable that when you get to the other side and now you're still attached,
Mhm.
then there's another cycle and another cycle
Mhm.
until I think ultimately the idea is to be sort of in the afterlife, but not of it. Like like sovereign, independent, compassionate individual, like the Buddhists, like Wayne was saying,
Yes.
that isn't attached to those details and those emotions, in which case then think of the difference between people or a group or a family who has all these issues, right?
Mm.
And every time you get together, somebody's gonna say something, duh, and and a group of people who are really all very self-sufficient, self-regulating, self-loving, and they come together. It's like a synergy that
Mm.
transcends the need to create the drama to play out so we can transcend the drama to creating cr creativity, ideas, inventions, evolution, all the incredible creative force that we are gets
Mm.
to then engage and play out. So I think that to me is the whole reason to keep coming back and working it out until we get to that place. And then I think we're capable of what God told us we're capable of is creation.
Mhm. So essentially, we are trying to just, be one with everything. We are one. We are all. We are you. You are us. This whole sort of concept.
And what a catch 22, huh? We are one. Wait a minute. I'm one with all those people?
Mhm.
The ones you don't like and you judge and you think are bad, I'm one with them? No, it can't be that, but yeah, it is.
Yeah, I guess energy is energy. It's just the roles that we play, and it gets really hard. So for those, because this is something I get asked all the time, and I know the answers, you know the answers, but animals, do we reunite with our pets? Are they pets at that point? Are we? They're just energy that can come back as a person the next time around. Like what's?
I did a reading, and this is in my first book, Diaries of a Psychic Sorority, where I did a reading for my Kim and Teresa's 10-year-old girls. And one of them asked, what about the animals? And what they said was, there is this sort of pot of whale soul, and there's a pot of dog soul, there's a pot of cat soul, and that we, from our desire, activate that to however in the mysterious form, then we end up with, for example, my dog Gabriel. I created this dog and he came to me, and then when he dies, I think we hold that form and that love and that life in our imaginations, in our heart, and our love, so that I do believe that when we pass over, they're all going to be there. One of my favorite parts of What Dreams May Come, all the dogs came running.
Yes.
But I think that they ultimately don't level up to then suddenly becoming human or on their way to human. It's a very specific pot of energy.
Well, I like that because I've created many a little soul who come back, and they do. They sometimes look at you like you just like there's one in specific I had. She would just look at me. She's a little person. I'm like, don't judge me. 3 pounds.
Yeah.
But they do. Sometimes they could just see right through you. And then you look into their eyes and it's just this beautiful, beautiful essence.
Well, it's a beautiful dance of great cooperation, as the angels used to say.
Yes.
They're not separate from us. They're a part of us, and we're creating and we're co-creating. It's amazing.
It seems to be. I mean, I've had incredible experiences with the angelic and many, ethereal beings. So even from very early on, before I even had any real understanding of that. So I love when people come to me and say, "Oh, I had this experience." It's just like, "Oh, this is good," But I think with that, the ones that the people lean to the most, of course, is our guardian angels, our spirit guides. Who are they? What are they about? How do we get assigned? Or how do they get assigned to us? Can we become that? Like that there's that cycle as well.
Yeah. Well, I have created, through all this work that I've done in my life, it seems like a very handy ability to create the synchronicity in my life. And getting to that question, it's because I've learned to ask without, how when we need something, we get worried. Like I just broke my windshield washer fluid pump, and it's 2 days before Christmas. Where am I? And I'm out of town. Where am I going to find a place? And so I asked chat for the 10 top local rated. Up came one, called him. I can't do it. Here's another guy. Call him. Yes, I can get you in. And I went in this morning. It was him and his friend and his wife, and they were talking about all of this.
Synchronicity.
To the point where we need to buy your books. Well, I have a suitcase in the car and I brought in my books. And not only I'm standing here telling them this is just too wild, because who would know you'd walk into the car repair place and here'd be this whole conversation about the nature of reality and that you want to buy my books and that my books can now offset my bill.
Yes.
So I think the mysteries of the universe are so far reaching that when we can suspend our, healthy skepticism is good, but
sure,
it's also about experimentation. Like we're lab rats here. Let's experiment. Let's see what we can create. And so far this year, it's been just kind of mind blowing, the level. And to this morning was just another affirmation of, well, okay, I can
Yes.
do this. I can do this.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So synchronicities on the heel of you having a show where you're gonna be talking about this
Yeah.
as well. Like, it just seems to be this whole melee of stuff, but it goes into that belief, the power of manifestation.
Yeah. And the intention. We
Yes.
did this little thing in church a couple weeks ago where the speaker said, I want you to think about something that you want to see in the day, whatever it is. It's just a little experiment, no big deal. And I thought, butterflies, because that's kind of my mom's sign to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
And oh my God, I saw butterflies everywhere. And then I found out 3 of my friends also had said, let's find butterflies. Imagine if we said that about world peace or peace in our families, or I'm going to go intend to find that and
Mhm,
see it and experience it.
mhm.
We just don't think to ask or to intend.
I don't think we give ourselves enough credit to be able to do it. But I mean, I understand life gets busy. Some people are just fighting through life, just trying to survive. You go to work, pick up the kids, you got soccer after homework and dinner, blah, 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 blah. This repeat, you're on this loop. So you don't really have like the time where you won't, maybe the recognition of something,
Yeah.
coming up. You may not even pay much attention to it. It could be very inconsequential, yet it should be the most important in your own growth, right?
And I think that we can make that shift. It takes this undoing and unconditioning of the old. But then once we get into that groove, those things that many things outside us, the soccer games and the kids and then all of this,
Mhm.
they can still go on and you still get caught up. But when you're anchored somewhere else, it just sort of elevates
Mm.
everything. It elevates all the experiences rather than, oh, it's a grind,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
this is my creative life. And
Mhm,
that's what that's the work that I do with people is I see them shift from that to really taking their own power in their own hands. And when you know what to do, like
mm,
when we teach conflict resolution and it's like simple things, here's the things that you're looking for, here's the things that you're going to do. They're very simple, but how are you going to commit to your own self-awareness in the course of a day? Because like you said, we get running away and then there's this and the next thing and the next thing. And where do we stop, set the intention, and throughout
mm,
the day have moments? And I'm not talking about meditation classes. I'm
mhm,
talking about 5 minutes of stopping and just breathing and releasing whatever's energy and emotion is going through, like with the intention that you're just going to center yourself for this little bit. And we do that throughout the course of a day. It adds up. It makes a huge difference for just a little thing that we're doing.
mhm. Oh, absolutely. Just that one moment just to be aware of, what's around you. Why are you feeling that way? I've
Mhm.
always been a watcher of everything. My mom says, "You were a weird little kid." And I'm just like, "Thanks. I love you too." But it's true, and it's something I carry into, like, even now, it's always being aware of my surroundings, whether I'm sometimes I'll just catch myself just staring at 2 little birds in the trees, just watching them interact. Like, there's just, or just same with people on the streets. Like, sometimes I watch without even being aware of what I'm really focusing on. It's just something that's grabbed my attention, and the next thing you know, you're just out of it and you're just back to, okay, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this,
Yeah,
you know
those breaks are so important.
well, somebody's making sure I'm getting them, because it's not always a purposeful thing where I'm just like, oh, look at those birds. Like, I'm not sometimes I'm just kind of, oh, that's cute, and they're just, I'm watching just how they're feeding one another, for example, or how they're courting, or whatever the case may be. Or we have this fat little squirrel. Like, God, you ate well. Must be it's gonna be a cold winter. Like, it's just things like that. But it's just, it pulls me out of the research, or it pulls me out of whatever it is that I'm super or hyper focused on, that maybe it's the universe's way of saying, hyper focus on something else.
Yeah, and present moment.
Yes, be in the present, be a participant.
Because that's what those animals are doing.
Yes.
They're dragging us into the present moment.
Yes. Yeah. And again, being aware of that. I think it's important that we participate in our own lives and we just don't get, lost in the shuffle, because so many of us do. Which brings me to the next question. There's a belief by some people, and this is just, it's incredible, the research, that I do for many different things, because I've been in media myself for like over 2 decades, and just different platforms and creation and behind the scenes, in front of the scene, the whole 9 yards. And one thing that has come up a lot, and I like to ask it because everybody has different points of view on it, but I like this, the universe has a sense of humor. We do have educators over there, we have educators over here, hence why we connect with people, I think. And there's this belief that there are those who like to sidetrack us, pull us off the path, distract us, take us away from the what we're supposed to be doing, and then see how long it takes us to get back. Like the guy who cuts you off, like you're being cut off 10 times in a day on the same road, going, come on. Right. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when I was growing up, I was a big fan of Carlos Castaneda. Okay. Carlos Castaneda was a sociologist who hung out with Don Juan, who was a sorcerer in Mexico. But one of the things that they talked about was they called them petty tyrants.
Oh.
And Don Juan said, if you don't have one, those people that try to pull you off, those people that try to distract you and bring you down, then the universe will bring you one.
Great.
Because they're the test for us to keep our center. And what better way to be tested to keep your center than to have a sparring partner who's going to try to throw you off center. And I think what happens is we get so serious about it. We get so, then we get into where we want to be right. And that perpetuates the, I'm going to prove you wrong, or in the struggle. And it's all part of our necessary learning.
But then you get those like fate, for example. And somebody, Wayne, sent me a meme today that says fate. And it's this turtle. So I guess he was swimming along when the water was high. The water recedes and he's caught between, 2 logs, and he's in the air on these 2 logs, and the water's way down. It says no matter how slow you take things, sometimes God will just mess with you for his own amusement. And I thought, see, I can resonate with that turtle some days. I'm sure there's a lot of people who feel the same way.
Well, I have come to learn through this work what we call the pivot. And the pivot is, of course, you make plans and God laughs.
Yeah.
So make some plans, but don't be too attached. But also in basketball, if everybody knows about basketball, is that it's an action sport, and you can't predict where it's going to go, and the ball's going there, the ball's going there, and sometimes you just have to grab it and pivot, go over here, and you don't sit down and go, why did that ball come to me? And should I have done this or that? No, you don't. You just grab the ball and pivot, and you go on with the game. And I think that's such a valuable lesson for all those kinds of situations, is how we going to pivot.
Right. So it's like just letting the universe take the wheel.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Mm-hmm. It's the lesson of our lives.
So yeah, that's a tough one, because those of us who are just so hyper focused on, like I'm not OCD, like some people are OCD, but I think when you get into any field of professionalism where you have to be just like switched on all the time, it's really hard to take a step back and say, I don't care if it messes up. Universe, go ahead, take the wheel. You can kind of get, you could sort of get professionally slapped about for something like that.
All the time. all the time.
Yeah.
Which is why pivoting is so important. It's like, well, wait a minute. I think I'm going to pivot here. But we get so attached, and so much intellect. It's
Mm.
heavy on the head, right?
Mm.
Explaining and judging, and no, I should have done that. And then it's tomorrow, and then yesterday, and then
But
and
we
that's
have to
really
exist in this place. This is the physical place. We have to exist here. We have to sort of conform to some of the rules, you know?
absolutely. But I think
Mm.
we overdo when it comes to intellect. I think intellect is the purveyor of running wild out of present moment into possibilities, into the imagination, into what can happen when it's all going on in the head.
Yeah. Wayne says, with the problem with the basketball analogy is that society has its say and it holds you accountable for why you didn't shoot, why you held the ball, why you didn't pass, why did you pass? Let the universe take the wheel, Wayne.
I mean, that can come after. When you're in the locker room and the coach is going over the game. Well, why didn't you? And then it was like, it came at me this quickly and I did the best I could. I went over there and
Mm.
it is what it is. And then we learn and we get better.
Mm-hmm. Throughout, the centuries, the millennia, there has been so much emphasis put on afterlife, right?
Yeah.
Preparation, the fears, the gifts of, I'm going to be presented with every, probably to the gods, to whatever the case may be, because some cultures believe in many gods. Even Christianity at one point was many gods to no, we have the one to, well, I'm going to be prepared because I've got everything here. And then you just look at the Egyptians with the scales, right? It's just so much emphasis being put on that. Was there what the reason for that? If we have absolutely, we're just going into nothingness, just waiting, recycling again, all this preparation, right down to burials. What is the value of that?
I think the burials, the rituals, I think they come from a place where humanity needed to start to define themselves.
Mm.
And I have no idea where in the beginning all of those rituals
Mm.
really arose from.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels to me like us, as we group together in families, in those of us who believe in the same things, pull
Mm.
together. And from that, just the creativity of what's creating life brings these everything, the art, songs, burials, um, religions. It's
Mm.
this creative force that it's, I don't know, I think it's the art of
Mm.
humanity coming up and expressing itself,
Mm.
because that's what we're, from the nothing comes everything,
Mm.
and then gets expressed in my unique way, your unique way, and then we come together and we have our unique conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And I I am really a firm believer in this evolution, that we're building and expanding and becoming higher consciousness, which means aligning to the greatest good, and then figuring out how do we choose to align to the greatest good as opposed to be sort of forced into it, right? We have circumstances that arise that
Mm-hmm.
force us to learn things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think that's why we're here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Closure, perhaps, as well. So it's a physical thing. Once had an interaction with a pharaoh and basically said, I'm still building temples. Oh, all right then.
Yeah,
Still
that's
building temples on the
what
other
he's telling
side.
you. Mhm.
Right. Right. But
Probably love those building of those temples, huh?
yeah, stature. So I'm wondering, would you still be holding on to your stature?
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
it's just there's just some things. So we're all kind of doomed.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I get that, but
Yeah.
I think we're all kind of blessed to also be evolving and
Mm,
given the opportunity at any time we can choose
mm,
to react and respond and, um, embrace
mhm,
love.
mhm.
We're given that choice.
Yes, I absolutely agree. It's what makes it also very special and the journey to discovering all of it, which I guess brings me to the last, you know, bit of conversation because I'm sure it'll kind of go in different directions. People have always been fascinated, again, with the afterlife, but coming into, I always say modern times, even the age of the Victorians, not modern, but modern considering we were just talking about ancient times, fascinated with death, fascinated with, you know, with afterlife and spirit communication, which brought on this field, even through the last couple of hundred years, easily, of the paranormal. This fascination for wanting to discover all of this and get traces of that major photo, for example, or, that voice recording. Like, what is your thought on that? Is it healthy just to follow this fascination, or do you think it should just ghosts are there? Or is it bleed through? What is it?
I think it's super healthy, and I think it comes from this innate part of us that understands that we have eternal life
Yes.
and that culture's been telling us we don't,
Yes.
and so there's a cognitive dissonance in there
Mhm.
that where, like, you wanna believe it, but then you can't believe it, and but then you're curious about it, but then, no, you're skeptical about it, and it's through that back and forth that we find our own truth.
Mhm.
And our own relationship to it. So my relationship to Afterlife is obviously
Mhm.
this sort of epic story,
Yeah.
and somebody else's relationship to Afterlife is just noticing that their grandmother's rocking chair
Yeah.
is moving on its own,
Mhm.
which is that little thing is really stunning
Mm.
and a body reaction to it, not just a thought, "Oh, I wonder if that's my grandma." No, it's this, you feel it.
Mhm.
And I just think it's such I think it's an important part of all of the whole of our development is when we question, we question some more, we experience some more, and then we come to learn for ourselves and develop our own worldview that doesn't hopefully, as we
Mhm.
progress, that other people can say, well, that's just crazy, and you can only imagine, "Well, that's just crazy, you talked to Einstein."
Mhm.
I was like, "Yeah, I do," but after all of these years, I know what I know, and I'm not here to convince you. I'll share, and if you don't think it's Einstein, that's perfectly okay, but
Mhm.
my thing is, and this is maybe on a regular basis too of just what is afterlife and how do we do this,
Mhm.
is that you have to find out for yourself.
Mhm.
You have to find out for yourself and go up against the skeptics, which just reflect your own skepticism,
Mhm.
and come to a place where you can make a stand and say, "Yeah, yes, this is my experience, and I don't need anybody else to validate me."
Mhm.
And that process alone, whether it's about afterlife or theories in math or your artwork,
Mhm.
that's what makes us strong individuals, I think.
Mhm. I would agree. I would agree. Um, so your advice to anyone who may have somebody who has just passed or somebody who's maybe on their transitioning into afterlife, um, how what's the best way to prepare them? Maybe for a communication coming forward, what to listen for, what to watch for. Have a code word like Houdini, him and his wife. We have a code word. So you need to channel Houdini because that guy
Yeah.
was just a thorn in a lot of people's butts.
Right. There's so many to talk to.
Yeah.
I think that emotion, deep emotion, is such a powerful tool. So when you're with somebody who is preparing to pass over, to let ourselves feel that, let ourselves feel it all.
Mm,
And it's a it's a perfect time to really start to pay attention, because you can't miss it when you're losing somebody that you love or they're passing over. You can't, I mean, you can, but
mhm,
it's so deep. And then to pay attention. I know that when my friend died, all those many years ago, my first friend, I was shocked at the beauty that was coming from it.
mm,
Even with all the pain and the sorrow and the loss, there was this deep, incredible beauty of life and death. And, we're all going to be at that place. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge to face that truth. But when we do, we liberate ourselves from that hold that we think
mhm,
we have to have, that keeps us tied
mhm,
and frees us.
mhm. Yes. I've worked with people who knew they were going to pass. They've asked that I just, come in and help them to prepare for transition. First time I was asked to do it, I thought it was a very peculiar thing, you know, because it wasn't so much like tell me who's waiting for me. It was nothing like that, but it was just like I need to know what to do. So maybe from the perspective of the person who may know they're ready to transition, what would you recommend for them?
I kind of think the same thing, is that if you're getting ready to transition, then you kind of want to be like the Buddhists. You love
Mm,
people, you love your life, you have a sort of a review as you're
mm,
on your deathbed, I'm sure.
mhm,
But what's ahead, the unknown, but it goes on.
mm,
And so let go as much as you can, appreciate, say goodbye. Say
mhm,
goodbye to this incredible life that you've had, even if it's been difficult. It's still a miracle that you
mm,
got to come here and have this life, and now it's naturally over. And as you let go and accept that, I think there's a whole new level of awareness that we can have as we make that passage. And I'll have to tell you when it happens for me, but
mhm,
that's my theory.
mm. Then do you have the afterlife review? Since you mentioned the review,
Yeah.
do most people do have the review? Because that can be kind of painful.
Well, it's kinda just part of the normal process, I think, when
Mhm,
we get to the other, so sort of more on a sciencey level than it is on a, like, moral
mm,
level. It's just all of that compilation of everything that we've done in that life comes to a head, and we see it
mhm,
in such a way that, like, we haven't seen it before, because we're so focused on making this
mhm,
physical world
mhm.
that we don't know often are able to pull back and see this. And people don't know, we just don't
Yeah.
know how the universe works. Well, I kinda do, but
Yes.
thank you, outside.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I just think it's a natural part of what happens, and no, nobody wants to see all the stupid things they did, or the bad decisions that they made, or the times that we were mean,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
it's who we are. Just like
Mm,
I think there's gonna be just as many great things, like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize I made a difference in that person's life," or,
mhm,
"I did that, I thought it was just a little thing and it made, I contributed so much," because we downplay that as well in
mhm,
our lives, the good things that we do.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, love each other, love each other while you can because you never know when the last day is the last day. And
Yeah,
for those who can't, communicate, it makes it harder. And I think, I've caught myself doing this as well. And and I should I know better. But for those For example, we know we can envision and we can communicate even somewhat with our loved ones who have passed on. To sometimes, even though as gifted as you may be, you know, you still grieve because you catch yourself
Absolutely.
saying, "Yeah, but you can communicate with them."
But there's still grief. You still grieve. You still have lost the physical person who will
Yes.
never be here again in
Mhm.
that physical form, and we have to grieve that because
Mhm.
that's the,
Mhm.
what is our essence here.
Mhm.
And as we do and let go, and eh, I've lost so many friends, and I've grieved so many, and I've gotten over it to
Yeah.
where I can think about them, like my mother. And it was
Yes.
so terrible for 2 years. It was very
Mm.
difficult. And now I can think about her and go, "My mom's texting me,"
Yeah.
and see my
Yeah.
butterflies, and she communicates here and there, and it's not
Mhm.
a painful thing. So time time is a great healer.
Right. So, what do you have coming up? Tell us about, your books. Tell us about, where people can communicate with you. I have your website up here, but all your links are in the YouTube description. So
Great,
people can
great.
find you do all kinds of things. So,
Well, like you said, the website it's just a load of information, a bunch of different information, my story, the process, conflict resolution. And I have a special, if anybody is interested in a reading, you can go to barbarawitz.com/readings and order an hour reading and use Einstein 40. Is the coupon code and get 40% off the reading. And I'm going to be doing a 6-week class coming up, I think the middle of January,
oh
for
boy.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna pick for it as we commune with Einstein in the party, but when I do a class, I just finished my Living an Intuitively Driven Life class for 6 weeks, and I watched all of these people just shift majorly. Because there's something when you get together with people of like mind and you're working on the same intention. And I have a master class that I've created. It's 17 videos that I produced myself, complete with graphics and music to walk us through Einstein's unified field theory and the creation of things, and then conflict revolution. And I just think anybody who's really into the, like, how does things work? What is Einstein? What is this? Uh, it's a really powerful tool to be able to learn and grow that way. And yeah, I'm always doing different stuff. If you poke into the website, you'll see I've got 2 years of podcasts. I've got over 100 podcasts. It's just
Wow.
great to
Yeah.
talk to people and
Yes.
share this. So many of us are on this way.
Mhm.
So yeah, stop in and reach out and say that you saw me on the show, and
Mhm.
I'll give you a special gift.
Oh, well, I am delighted that you were able to join me today for this very interesting discussion. And of course, I'm looking forward to, future discussion, especially on consciousness, because that is just going to be an amazing segment. And to everyone who has participated, I know it's kind of a 50-50 also today because people are out doing the shopping. It's kind of like, oh boy, yeah, we're pretty close. So thank you all, for taking the time to jump in. And for those of you listening audio internationally through all of our different servers, thank you for listening. And, please feel free to reach out. Guys, the next 2 nights with the Outer Realm will be replays, but I chose some good ones for you guys, keeping with the theme. So, Merry Christmas to those, since there will be no live shows for me to put it out there to you all. And I hope you have a terrific, terrific Christmas, terrific holiday, and cozy up with your family. And you know, dot your I's, cross your T's, and just put it out there. Let the universe take the wheel, as hard as that may be. And big thank you, of course, to Barbara. We appreciate you so very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Okay. Goodbye, everybody, and good night to those on the other side of the world. We'll see you all beyond the outer realm with Carol Ann Iadarola next Tuesday.